So today we will cover these following use cases, right? We'll try to see all the 6 points, right? So we'll start with adding a field related list to a page and adding columns to the page, right? So what are we trying to do? So far you guys have created objects. You have probably added fields as well, which you would have created, right? But where I didn't see you guys have put an attention on that how I can go and expose that field even on the related list, right? So we'll just first talk about this use case, right? So, and I'll take just as an example of account, right? So if you see I have an account object, and in the lightning, all of you should start using lightning most of the time, right? So easy way to me to go to this object directly, I'll directly go and say edit object. That takes me to a page directly to that object. So I saved my time really going into that setup, querying for object and looking for account object and then comes to this view. Okay. So now here so far whatever we have discussed is about field and relationship. So you have created multiple fields. You have also built relationship between the two objects. You probably have touched page layout, but not separately. You have spent enough time on the page layout, right? So what happens? Like you create multiple fields for a given object, you can also create multiple page for a given object. And then you can do a page layout assignments based on user or profile, right? So page layout assignment, I'm not going to go and spend time on this today because today my focus is not multiple page and how do you assign it to different profile. Today my focus is how do you go to a specific page layout and make some correction on the page layout, right? So when you go to the page layout, pretty much your page layout is going to look like this. This page layout will have here on the left hand side, there are different sections, and for every selection you make, you will see all that available for you. For example, right now I'm on fields, and what it shows me all the fields which are available on that account as an object. The grayed out one are the fields which has already been added onto this layout, and the bold one are the fields which has not been added yet. So if I decide to pick one of them, I can just drag and drop and place it where I want to see that field on the page layout. Okay. You also have an ability to move around. So if I don't want to see on the left hand side, I want to see on the right hand side, I can move it here and drag and drop. If I want to see it between fax and website, I can drag and drop. Right. So you have all that ability to move the fields around different sections. So if I decide to move this, now this you see account information, address information, additional information, and system information, right? These are different sections. And if I decide to move this into different sections, I can go and move it to different sections as well. That's pretty much drag and drop features. Very easy, very handy. Okay. Then you look into something called related list. What related list tells you when you have created quote and quote lines, and if you go to quote lines page layout, or sorry, if you go to quote page layout and if you click on related list, it will show you quote line here. Most likely it will show you in a gray area, meaning it has been already added. When I click on related list for account, it is telling me all that objects which are child for an account, and those who are added, you can see it all the way down. Those who are added, you can also see they are grayed out here. Those who are not added will be in a bold, and I can drag and drop. Okay, so for example, if I want to drag and drop this asset, and I can here, I can decide my sequence. Do I want to put before contacts, after contact, or before opportunity, or I want to put all the way down? So you can keep scrolling and go all the way down, right? So let's say I want to put all the way to the top. So I go and put it here. Now assets get added, right? In your case, when you have added quote and quote lines, this has happened either by default or you have probably dragged and dropped, and it was only showing me the name column with an hyperlink. It was not showing me these much columns. If you would have exposed these much column, you could have exposed quote line, product name, product code, product family, and cost, which you have not done, maybe because you don't know. You have an option here, clicking on this wrench icon, and this shows you all the fields which you have created on that related objects. So I am on whose page layout? Say for example, I am on account page layout. Asset is child to account. And when I go to this range for that related list of asset, all the fields which I'm seeing here is coming from asset object, not from account object, right? Now I have an option to go and say that, okay, I want to see, let's say, product code, product family, product name, product skills. I select all of this, move it here, right? I can only add maximum up to 10 columns in a related list. And I have added more than 10 columns. So they are asking me, can you take out some of them? So I'll say, okay, let's say I do not want competitor assets. I do not want, let's pick serial number installed at quantity is fine. I do not want product family as well, right? So I'll just go with this, and I also have an ability to say in this view, I can pick a column and say based on asset name, do a sorting. So when the data will be displayed, it will do a sorting based on asset name. In your case, you can just say sorted by quote line number or sorted by product. You can pick whatever column you have added this side. Okay. So this is about the columns. Okay. Also, there are few actions which you can expose to related list, and that you do it from here on the buttons. So if you click here, it will show you that there is only one standard button right now, which is new, right? Which is already exposed. But if there are other buttons, it will show you the other buttons as well. And then you can pick and drop like you were doing in the columns. I'll look into some other related list and show you that part as well. Right? So if I'm done with this, I'll go and click OK. And you should be able to see all the fields which I have added. Product code, product name is now appearing here. I also had an ability to decide which sequence I want to see. Say for example, product name I want to see all the way up. I can just move all the way to the up. And then it says, well, you cannot move product name above asset name because asset name is your main field. So I'll stop here and say okay. So now I'll have asset name, then product name, and then all other columns. Okay, if I just go to opportunity and look into the buttons, here also I have standard buttons. So we'll deal with that in some other session where I'll create custom buttons, probably on the case. Let's take a look. On the case I have two, new and change owner, and I don't want to expose change owner. If I do this and save it, then this action will not be displayed. So what is this action meaning, right? So if you really go here, go to this related list, and if you go to cases, right now I don't have any case, but let's go create a case. I have the case created, and then sorry, okay? Yes, so everything is a record. So here, I mean, if you do not follow it through, what happens? You have account as an object, right? And then you have all the child's objects sitting in the related list. So I have contact as a child, opportunity as a child, case as a child, notes and attachment, partner and product of interest, right? Now, if since it is a parent child, for one parent I can have multiple. So I can go and create multiple contacts. It is while creating this, basically I am creating records on the contact object. And since I'm creating from account, you will see account will be pre-populated to it. Okay, so if I really go and say new, you will see account is already pre-populated. I don't have to really pick that account. Okay, so let's go back here. So that's related list, right? And then you have couple of other options here, which you can explore later on. But pretty much at this point of time, you should have clear understanding of how do you go add a page, add a field to a page, and how do you go and play around exposing fields on the related list, or also adding new related list if you want to. Okay, that's pretty much I wanted to cover on this point. The next point I wanted to talk about making a field required, right? You may have seen so far while we were talking about it, when I go here on that account, and if I just try to say new account, this point of time, it is telling me, this start telling me this is a required field. Sometimes people will tell you that whatever fields you're exposing on the page layout, make those field required field, right? And say for example, right now you can see account number is not a required field. So my first ask is make account number required field. Now how will you go and make account number required field? There are multiple ways to do it. One, I can just come here on the page layout itself, look for account number, and again you go to the properties where you have an option to make it read only or required. I wanted to make it required, so I'll make it required here, and I say OK, and I'm done. So now account number is required. Once I save it and go to the page layout, it will show me that field is a required field. Okay. Now, if you really go to this account layout, I have so many fields. Sorry, so many page layouts. Now the field which I have made required, I have made only required on this page layout. That field will not be required on this page layout or this page layout or this page layout. Sometimes you will have a requirement to make field required on a specific page. For example, I want you to make field required for every sales agent. But if a sales manager logs in, he should be able to make an edit on those pages, right? think about this as an example like HR who decide your salary, right? And professors who are teaching you, right? So professors should be only able to see that value. They cannot, sorry, that was on the read only. So I'm talking required, right? So whenever HR goes and create a record for any employee, he has to make sure he enter salary information for that employee because that is what finance department will use to pay that employee salary. Okay. Now, if I have to make that required, I'll go and I'll have something called here as an account layout HR, which only HR guys can access it, and I'll make that field required there. But let's say there is a marketing guys and who do not have to deal with salary information, right? So why will I impose required for them? I will not, right? So I will not go on their layout and make that field required. So that way, marketing guys can enter employee information without salary, but the moment HR logs in and they try to do an edit, they will have to add salary before they move save the record. So that is one way of looking the requirement. The other way of looking the requirement, people will say no, some fields like account number, what we were dealing here, right? Account number has to be required for everyone who is creating account. Then I have two options. I go to every page layout and make that field required. Now sometimes you will have 100 page layout and making that field required in 100 page layout is not a good option. So there has to be some better option to do it. When you create field, here also you had an option to make that field required, right? So if you go to account number and you do an edit on this, and this is out of the box field, so they will not let me change mostly here. So let's do one new field. Let's say I'm creating a text field. At this point of time, you have this checkbox, which make that field required on every page layout. Well, this has more than that, okay, which you guys will not understand at this point of time. Even for integration purpose with external application, this field will become required. So say for example, if you are trying to load this data as opposed to manually creating it, it will make it required even for data loading purpose. Okay, so backend purpose. We'll talk about this little late. So for now, understand this way: making a field required makes it required for everyone. Making field required on the page layout makes it required only on that specific page layout. That's how you go and create fields required, right? Now, in some case, okay, before I go further, any question? Okay, now in some cases, you will have requirement even more than that, right? So I'm not saying make account number required. So making account number required, I'll go put one and save it. It will let me save. You will go and put 1, 2, 3, and you will save it. It will let you save. If I have some requirement like your account number should be at least 8-digit character. That means I want you to really enter all 8 digits. So for example, if I really go and try to save this, I should get some error. Okay, so this is for account name itself. Let me cancel this record, come back here. An account number here I had already added, but let's say take it out and try to save this, right? I want to get a message like account number should be at least 8 characters long, and system will not allow me to save it. So if just by making field required either at field label or at page layout label is not going to meet my requirement. Okay, I have to do something more, and that something more is the next topic, which is validation rule. So you can go and create a validation rule as well while you are dealing with it. Okay, so I'll repeat it again so that you guys get it. So if I want to make user always enter account number, I have multiple ways to do it. I can go and on a specific page layout make that field required, or I can go and at field label itself make that field required, right? In both the cases, it will become required, but it does not put restrictions on user that you definitely have to follow 8 character limitation while you are putting account number. So if you have to do more than required, then that's where you will go and start using something called validation rule. And that validation rule, again, you go to that specific object where you want to add validation rule and go all the way down. Here you will find something called validation rules. This is a place where I have created validation rule. And what it does, it's just you go and say new. You give name whatever you want to give a name. So for example, I want to say ABB. You can put any description, and here you'll have to add a formula, right? You have to tell what formula you want to put. Right now in my example I wanted to put on account number, so I'll pick account number and say insert. And what I want to do, I want to know length of this account number, so I'll go and try to look for length as a formula, and you should be able to see it here, right? And say insert. And now here I can go, as opposed to text, I can insert account number. Now these are all the functions available for you to complete your formula. So what is this going to give me? This is going to just give me length of an account number. So if you type 1, it will give me 1. If you type 1, 2, 3, it will give me 3. So I'm going to say length of account if this is less than 8. You have an option to do check syntax. So if you are doing something wrong, system will tell you that you have done something wrong, and you'll see something coming here. Right now there is no error. And what is a message I want to show them, right? You can type whatever business wanted to show. So in this case, I'll say please add at least 8 characters, and so on, right? You can just go and do it and save it. This validation rule then will become active for the specific field called account number. Since I have already created this, I'll cancel it. But I want to also talk about two things. This error location. So this message should come at which place? Do I want to show this on the top of the page, which is basically a global error message, or is specific to the field? So right now what you have seen, what you get, this is called on the top of the page. Okay, so if I have put multiple error message on 5 6 fields, I can get consolidated all error message on the top of fields like this, I will get 5 more error messages. I have other option to do is show me on the field itself. In that case, what will it look, right? So let me go and make an edit on the one which I created. I'll come back here from top of the page. I'll pick field, and of course, like which field you have to tell. Where do you really want to show this message? So I want to show this message on account number because that's where I'm validating it. So I save this field. That also means if you have a requirement to show error message against some other field, you can pick even that field. So I'll go and save it right now. And now if I go and try, maybe I have to refresh, but let's quickly check. So if I click on save, it tells me error message here. Okay. It is telling you only review your account number field, but the error message comes here as opposed to it was coming there itself. Sometimes people like this messaging more because they can see what is error just opposite to the field itself, right? So okay, I know this correction, then I'll go to the other field, I'll correct there, I'll correct all the error field by field and then save it. So far so good. Any okay, then comes creating a roll-up summary. This is basically creating a field. Now you guys have done lots of master detail relationship. You guys have created quote and quote lines, right? In those examples, what you do, you basically will have a situation where think about I'll have quote created as Q1, right? That was your parent object. And then I have quote lines. So this is my code. And then I'll have multiple quote lines. What do I put on the quote lines? Product P1, P2, P3. Now this will also have a dollar amount associated to it. So this is $100, this is $200, and this is $500. Now somebody has to go and pay. Who will pay? Yes, right? And if they have to pay, or let's say ABC card, right? Then as a sales rep, I have to come and add all these, and I have to tell them, oh, you have to pay 800. Sometimes I will have multiple lines like this, right? And if assuming even though they are all 500, it's not easy job for me to go and keep adding it unless I put in the Excel sheet because right now I'm showing you in the Excel sheet, but it will be in your application, right? I cannot go and add like this. That's where people will tell that give me a column on the quote itself which will tell me total amount. What it will do, it will roll up all of it and it will tell me it is 6300. Sometimes people will also say that tell me how many products are associated to it. How many products? It will just do a count on this and say, okay, it is 14 products. Okay. Sometimes I can even try multiple variation within this. So say for example, this is family 1. and rest are family 2. And it can be anything. Okay, so now I can ask you, give me total amount family 1 and also give me total amount family 2. In that case, you cannot just add all of it. You'll have to apply some filter and say only add this much, which is basically 2800, and add it here. And if I'm asking same for family 2, you will add rest of it and say for family 2. Now this is quite common ask. All of this can only be achieved with configuration in Salesforce if you have relationship between quote and quote line as master details. If you have built a relationship between them using lookup, then you cannot do these easily. You will have to do some other way to do it. Okay, so that's one of the biggest benefit of master detail because it allows you to create a roll-up summary field. Okay, so how do you really go and do it? You will try in your code. I'll see if I have option to do on that account. Maybe they will have some master detail relationship already in place. So I'll go and say new record, and here I'm going to pick. See here, I don't have master detail relationship available. In your case, oh well, yes, I have roll-up summary fields, which is good. I'm not building master detail relationship right now. So I'll go and pick roll-up summary field. I'll give them name ABC for now, and then you go to next. Then it will ask you based on which object you are going to do that roll-up on that account object. In the example which we were talking on the quote object, right? So if you go here, there are only three objects which are associated to account as master detail relationship. One of them is opportunity. So I can pick opportunity and then I have different options. I can say give me a count of total opportunities, give me a sum of total amount, and if I do a sum then I have to tell on which amount. So I have to say okay, expected revenue, or I can say no, give me based on the amount. So whatever values was there on the amount, they will do a sum and show me the sum. I also have to do a min and max. Some cases you look for which product was maximum sold, what was my maximum sold price, or what was my minimum sold price. So if you want to do that, you can use these two. Now with that sum or count, if I have to do by family, so if I'm doing just like this, I'm done. I'm not using any filter. So filter criteria by default is all records should be included in the calculation. That was an example here. Everything will get included. That will give me this value. But if I have to go to this value, I have to come back and say only record meeting certain criteria. And then I'll say that criteria will be something like here I'll have product family exposed. Most likely here you will not have, but think about this is my product family. I'll say equals to, and I'll say product family is family 1. And then I'll save it. In that case, it will go and do only for family 1. Okay, with this, I'll take a pause and see if you guys have a question.